Now, so you're finishing off the Irish leg of this, then you're heading down to Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah. We're doing a big run down there. Myself and Faye, we're doing New Zealand, Australia first. We're doing the Brisbane Comedy Festival, and Melbourne Comedy Festival, and doing some gigs in Sydney, and down to Perth and some other places as well, I believe. And we're looking forward to it. They're bringing us out early because they want us on that big TV show out there, the breakfast show. It's Channel 7 in Sydney. So there's kind of an exciting side to it. It'll be great fun.
So you're big down under.
Finish up big. Well, I did tour there before on my own, and they're big theatres. The thing out in Australia, in Sydney. I think it was in Perth or wherever it was. It's a big theatre, about 1,600 seater, and at the interval, the promoters came into me and said, "You got to go out the front and have a look at what's going on." They have a small little foyer with a merchandise stall or box, like a ticket office, and there's a poor Australian girl in behind the desk with all patchwork hats and T-shirts. There's about 300 drunken Irish with pints going, "If I got one of them and one of them, and if I got two of them and one of them," and the place will erupt, and she go, "That'd be $7.20. And what if I got two of them and one of them?" And the whole interval, she had a roar laughing inside the fire.
Classic sketch. We lost Jon. At the end of last year. I mean, how big a shock was that?
Oh, huge. It kind of came as a shock, and it was strange, I have to say, because we'd spent a lot of years together and stuff, and we did a reunion tour in 2010. But we got to work on Banshees then together, which was lovely. And that was a really nice one. And not because of the film, what it took on, but Martin was a big fan of The Unbelievables back in the day, and we did one of his plays many years ago. And he always used to come to see us and everything. And I was lucky to work with him on a play and one to another. But he was always talking about The Unbelievables. And I think he wrote that little scene at the bar in particular. It was real Unbelievables kind of dynamic, is what I'd say. And he really wanted myself and John for it. So which was lovely because we got to rehearse and work together and do a lot of work in the last...
And all of those, big actors, they wanted to see you guys working together, which was just lovely.
There was a lovely moment there on set. And when you're doing a movie or something like that, you do your scene and off you go, and then the next scene is set up and the other actors are brought in. And so we were doing this scene with Colin, which was up at the bar. And it's the scene I'm talking about, I suppose. We did loads of bits and bobs together, but this particular scene. And I noticed the set was filling up. Instead of people going away, a lot of the Irish crew and people were coming in to sit down behind the monitor and squeeze in where they shouldn't have been to see the two Unbelievables perform.
But it's iconic, like for people of a generation. I mean, for me, whenever I was starting out, and those videos, I just played them. We've got a wee clip here of you two guys just doing your stuff. It's just classic comedy.
Yeah. Tell me, what time are you hoping to be up at?
Oh, well, ourselves have the dinner on for 12:30.
Lovely.
So we're having soup, then we're having roast spuds, boiled spuds, inches spuds, out spuds, no spuds, mashed spuds. We're having roast beef, jelly and ice cream, sweet cake. No tea, no wash up. Straight out the door. I'd say we'll be at the match at about 5 to.
Lovely.
Yourselves?
We said we'd have a clear run of the day, so we did dinner this morning at 8:30.
It was a great, so good. Mary, I know that you got the Unbelievables treatment one night.
I did. It was New Year's Eve. It was a live programme. It was to welcome in the new year on RT, and it was happening in UL. Do you remember the concert?
Well.
And I was the host, I suppose, and Pat and John were performing. And at one point, I was doing a piece. It was serious, introducing a singer or something. And the next thing is, they came in and they started sweeping around me. I did not know this. This was not rehearsed. And they were sweeping around me and saying, will you belong, love? Will you belong, love? And eventually I just said, it's not your turn. And Jon Kenny says, listen to her. But another part of that show was you used the audience as kind of a classroom. And I remember you going down and you were the teacher, and like that, an absolutely classic line was you got somebody and you called him Maloney, and he says, Maloney, you can't find yourself to the school gate and you're going to America. I loved that line. It was so good.
But this
You made mincemeat to me, Paddy. That's
I do remember it was like a well-oiled machine. Not. And we were told to come on and abuse you, and I don't think you even knew who we were.
I wasn't expecting it. I knew who you were. I knew you were.
Here's one for you. At 30 years since Father Ted.
Yeah.
I mean,
Never is it?
It is this year.
It is.
It's
And this was this man's first TV audition.
That's right. Wow. Yeah. I'll never forget it. They auditioned myself and John. They were doing all the comedians in Ireland. You know, Graham and Arthur. Graham Lynn and Arthur Matches were really good to all the comedians in Ireland at the time, I have to say. And they knew everybody. So they brought us in, and I remember, I think I auditioned for Dougal, but it was known afterwards he already had the part. They were just giving you scripts and wanting that. And then they asked me to do Tom. And I remember that scene in the first episode where I dropped my trousers and looked through my legs and go, look at that fella, my own dog did that to me, doesn't it look like a face? And that's the piece I had to do in the audition. And I'd never done an audition. And they all started roaring, laughing at me. And I got very, oh, Jesus, don't be laughing at me, I'm doing my best here. And I felt very intimidated. And I walked out going, fuck this business, I'm getting out of it.
Well, look, we're glad you didn't, because, I mean, you know, the rest is history, and you end up at the Aras with this woman here.
Oh, yeah, that was a great
With
honour.
your dad?
My dad.
God rest him.
Yeah. It was lovely. You were very good. You brought up entertainers into the Aras. Normally, you wouldn't be allowing us in the van around the back, don't mind into the front door. But my dad was gas. He's a great gardener, so he was. And all he wanted to see was the gardens in Aras. You know, so everyone was going in. We all went in and met you, which was lovely. And he was really delighted to be there. It was a really big deal for all of us, but my dad in particular. And then he said, come on, I want to go smoke the pipe and have a look at the garden. So I had to, oh, come on, Christy. So we went out the back, and there's a lovely terrace there overlooking the gardens. And he stood there looking at it going, oh, my God, look at this. And he's a primary school headmaster and knows his history, and he enjoyed the whole moment. Was a big deal for us. We stood there the two of us, and I was going, come on, Jesus Christy, come on, we got to go back in. So just as we turned to go back in, all the journalists come running at me, and they said, President McAleese mentioned you in her speech. What do you feel about that? And I said, we were having a fag out in the balcony. I missed the whole lot. I turned to my father and said, you're after getting me into it now again.